Okay, so this is an extension of composition of functions. You will need a paper and a pencil. We're going to go over evaluating functions from a graph. So this is part of our performing operations to write new functions. We are going to do that, but we're going to use a graph to do it. And by no means do I expect you to draw each of these graphs on your paper. These graphs are available. If you look at the PDF of the notes, you will see these graphs on there, and you can just refer to that. So I do not expect you to draw these graphs. So this is finding function values from a graph. So in this example, I give you the graph. This is the graph. I didn't label it, but this is graph g of x. So this red graph is g of x. And so example 1, it wants you to evaluate from the graph. So when I say g of 3 equals question mark, remember the thing that is in parentheses is always going to correspond to an x value. So that means I'm going to go along my x axis. So I'm going to move when x is 3. So if I start at 0, 0, and I move 1, 2, 3, when x is 3, what is my y value? So where does so when x is 3, where is this red line? So I'm just going to move, I'm going to go down. Obviously, it's down here. What is the y value? It's -1. So I'm going to say g of 3 is -1. So this would be the ordered pair, 3, -1. Remember, it's x, y. So this is x, and this is y. So example 2, so now in this example, now you're going to use some combining functions. So it says 2 times g of -3. So let's find g of -3 first. So g of -3. So remember, this is my x, and then the value that I get out here is my y. So I'm looking for a y value. So when x is -3, so -1, -2, and then here's -3. I'm going to see where is this red line at. So I'm going to go up, and it's at the point 3. So g of -3 is 3. So this is my y value. I'm going to do the same thing because I see I need g of 2. So I'm going to do the same thing, except now I'm going to do it for 2. So g of 2, let me get the eraser. So I'm going to erase this real quick. So g of 2, again, the 2 is in the x spot. So g of 2, so this is the x, and I should be getting out a y. So g of 2, so I'm going to go 2 on the x, and then see where does that cross the red line. So here's 1, 2 on the x, and then I'm going to go down. This is about, so this is about -0.5. So this is -0.5. So -0.5. And then I'm just going to plug that into that statement that they have. So 2, we know g of -3 is 3. So 2 times 3 plus 4. And then g of 2, we found that on the graph, is -0.5. So I'm going to do 2 times, or sorry, 4 times -0.5. And then I'm just going to simplify that. And this is a problem that you could put in your calculator, but I'm going to work it out step by step for you. So 2 times 3 is 6. Oops. 6 plus 4 times -0.5 is -2. So this is -2. So 6 plus -2, this is like saying 6 minus 2, which that is 4. So your answer there is 4. So pause the video, and I want you to try the next 2 where it says practice. So hopefully you took a minute and you tried those 2. I put the answers here. So remember, g of -2 means you're going to plug in -2 for your x, and you should be looking for a y value. So when you do g of -2, you do get that g of -2 is 2.5. So the ordered pair I put there is in red is -2, 2.5. Then the next problem, 2 times g of -1. So again, -1 is your x. So if you go to -1 on your x and then you go up, it's at about 1.5. You could put 1.5 there. And then g of -2, we just found that one in the last part, so that was 2.5. So you're just going to plug that in. So 2 times g of -1 plus 4 times g of -2. So that is 2 times 1.5 plus 4 times 2.5. Notice I'm using parentheses there. And then that gets you 3 plus 10, which is 13. This next example, again, you don't need to draw the picture. I just want you to give these problems a try. So g of 9, again, this tells me what is, when x is 9, what is y. So if I go, when x is 9, y is, well, I didn't move up or down, so it's 0. So g of 9 is 0. And then, so g of 9 is 0. And then example 2, again, 2 times g of -3 plus 4 times g of 2. So I'm going to find each of those values. So g of -3, again, this is my x. They want a y value. So this is a y value. So when x is -3, my y is 0 because I didn't move up or down. And then g of 2, when x is 2, so I'm going to go 2 on the x, and then I'm going to go down to my function. Down here, it's at like -1. So g of 2 is -1. So again, this was my x. This is my y. And then I'm going to just plug in those values. So 2, g of -3 is 0, plus 4, g of 2 is -1. So this goes away, anything times 0 is 0, and then 4 times -1 is -4. So your answer there is -4. The last example is a little trickier. So what is the input value other than -4 for which g of x equals 1? So what they're really asking you here is, notice I have a value in the, I don't have a value in the x spot, but this is my y. So they want to know, they're basically asking for what x values does y equals 1. That's basically what they're asking. They're asking for what x values does y equal 1. So one method to do this is go to y equals 1. So I'm going to go on the y-axis and I'm going to go to 1. Extend your line to the right. So I'm just going to go to the right. And notice I only hit this graph once. I hit it at x equals 8. So I can say x equals 8. And if I go to the left, I have -4. And if I keep going to the left, I hit it again at -6. And then I hit the graph again at -8. And then I go one more time at -10. So these are the values, these are the x values where my y value is 1. So in other words, if I plugged in 8 for x, I would get +1 for my y. So if I plugged all these values in to my g of x function, which is this green function right here, if I plugged in all those values to this green function that I'm highlighting, then when I evaluate that, my y value for each of those would be +1. So I want you to give this one a try again. You don't need to sketch the graph, but I'm going to highlight it. This is in green. This is the function that you're looking at. So this is g of x. So go ahead, give this one a try. So pause the video if you need to. That is the thing that I highlighted in green. That is what you should be looking at for your g of x function. So pause it, give that one a try. So I did go through and I put the answers, so hopefully you took a minute and paused and gave it a try. So g of 4, so if we go along x, when x is 4, y is 2, so g of 4 is 2. And the next problem, 2 times g of 3 plus 3 times g of 2 equals question mark. So again, g of 3, that says when x is 3, what is y? When x is 3, y is 1. And then g of 2, whoops. And then g of 2 for that one. So when x is 2, what is y? When x is 2, y is 0. So I have 2 times g of 3 is 1, so 2 times 1, plus 3 times g of 2, so g of 2 is 0, so I put parentheses in 0, and then that just makes 2 times 1, which is 2, because 3 times 0 goes away. The next one, if you needed help, so what is the input value other than -4 for which g of x equals 1? So again, that's very similar to the last problem. It's asking for what x values does y equal 1. So if that one gave you trouble, hopefully this question sort of will help guide you. So I'm going to go y equals 1. I'm just going to draw a line through y equals 1. So I drew that purple line. So I'm just going to see, where does this green graph hit it? At what x values? I'm going to say x equals. So I'll start at the left. So it hits it at -9. So you're looking for x values. So then it hits it at 7 and 6. So -7, -6. It does technically hit in between, but just for simplicity, we'll just say -7 and -6. -4. And then one more time at 3. So this is fine for our answer. We'll leave it like that. So if you guys have any questions about compositions graphically, please send me a message through Remind, email, or Google Classroom.